Hi, I'm James from Spy Camera CCTV. In today's video, we're going to be looking at how to wire up your wireless farming kit. Now this is using the kit where the recorder is back in the farmhouse. So in this setup, we're going to be using a network video recorder or an NVR connected to one of the Wi-Fi cameras. So we're going to show it with one camera, but you could do this with as many cameras as your NVR would take. As I said, we're going to do this with one, but you could have 2, 3, 4 cameras. So initial setup, we're going to show you the camera side first, so this shows how you wire your camera, and then in the second part of the video we're going to show you how you wire the farmhouse or NVR end, depending on where you want to put it. Okay, so step one, we're going to wire up the camera side. So first of all we're going to get our Ingenious antenna. You can see on the bottom of the Ingenious you're going to have two LAN connections. It's really important that you get this right. On the LAN connections, you'll see there's one labelled LAN PoE and one labelled simply LAN. The PoE one is the one that we're going to be interested in for this part of the connection. So in the Ingenious box, you'll also have a power supply. You get the kettle lead type thing and the PoE injector. Now on the bottom of the injector, you'll see a similar sort of setup. You've got two LAN connections. One is labelled PoE, one is labelled LAN. Obviously we're going to be using the PoE part here because we're going to power the antenna with it. So what we're going to do is connect first of all the white cable into the PoE and then into the PoE feed on the Ingenious. So that is now your Ingenious powered. So we've got injector, PoE, network cable all the way into the PoE in on the Ingenious. So you can see how that's set up. Now the other part of this is obviously the camera. So at the back of your camera you'll notice you've got a network connection again here. So we're going to use another network cable and just pop that there. So we're going to go from the network output on the camera and we're going to go straight into the LAN connection on the Ingenious injector. So you can see I've separated it with a black and a white cable so you can see it. White cable is going into the Ingenious, black cable is going into the camera. Now the other part of this setup that you need to bear in mind is that the camera will still require its own power supply. So again, if you look at the camera feed, you'll see you'll have two connections. Obviously red is power and then the black is the network connection. The camera still requires a power supply. So obviously when you're wiring this together, think about where you're going to put that and if you might need extension cables. Okay, so that's the camera side all wired up. You can see how it's all simply laid out. It does look like a mess of cables, but that's only because it's on the table. Obviously, if you had the camera, 15 feet up in the air and then the Ingenious on the other side of the barn, you'd have all these cables spread out, so it wouldn't be quite as messy as this. So we've moved the camera part of the wiring out of the way now. We've left it all wired, but we've moved it to one side. We're now going to look at the sort of receiving end of the setup. So this would be if you had the recorder, say, in the farmhouse. You'd have your Ingenious antenna outside and then the recorder inside in the loft or under your TV, wherever you end up putting that. What we're going to show you is how we're going to wire the Ingenious into the recorder and then the recorder into your internet router. So again, we've got a BT Home Hub here acting as our internet router, but this would be the same setup no matter what router you had. So as before, on the back of the Ingenious, we're going to wire it exactly the same way we have with the camera end. So we're going to use the PoE input on the Ingenious. And then again, we've got the same power supply we had before. LAN connection, PoE connection. We're obviously going to use PoE as we did before. I'm going to set that there. And then the final part is the LAN connection. So this cable could obviously be longer. Again, for this setup, I'm just using a short cable just to demonstrate, but this could go 10, 20, 30, 40 meters, however long you needed it to be. We're going to go from that LAN connection, and if I move the router out of the way a second, what you can see on the back of your recorder, so this is one of our what we call PoE NVRs, so you see on the back of the recorder we've got 4 ports, 4 network ports for camera connections, but instead of connecting the camera, obviously we're going to connect the Ingenious. So if you're connecting just one camera, it doesn't really matter where you put it in. Obviously, if you're going to use 4 cameras, you would use ports 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, it doesn't matter which way around you do it, it's just how they're going to appear on your screen. So again, we're connected into port 1 here. And as you can see from the setup, what we've got is grey cable running from PoE to PoE, and then black cable running from LAN into port 1 on the back of the recorder. So now that we've got this all cabled together and laid out, Obviously the most important thing to remember is the ENGENIUS antennas need to have a line of sight connection. So they need to be pointing at each other. When you're doing installation, this is a really important part. Don't forget to do this. They have to be looking at each other. So if you can imagine this was scaled down, there needs to be a direct line of sight between them. You can't have one ENGENIUS facing this way and the other ENGENIUS facing that way. They have to be looking at each other. So the final part of the installation is connecting the recorder into your internet router. It's really simple. All you're going to have is a normal network cable, and that's going to go from the 5th port on the back of the recorder. Now it's really easy to figure that out. You'll see the 4 ports together, and then you'll see a separate network port on its own. You're going to be using this network port on its own, and again you're going to be plugging straight into the network port on the back of your router. So in this case, like I said before, we've got a BT Home Hub. It doesn't really matter what port you plug these into, as long as it's plugged into one of the 4 ports, you're fine. Thanks for watching this video. Please remember you can also find all the information in this video on our help site at spycameracctv.com/help.